Okay, hi everyone. This is going to be the second problem video for chapter 8. So a lot of information here, a lot of stuff we got going on. So let's kind of unpack this, right? It says a company began January with 6,000 units of its principal product, right? Each unit cost $8. That's going to be our beginning inventory, right? Then they tell us, hey, during the period, we make some purchases, right? So there's purchase 1, purchase 2, right? So we begin with 6, we buy 11, right? Then they say, hey, we also made some sales, right? We have sale 1, sale 2, sale 3, right? So there were 9,000 total that we sold, right? So we began with 6, we bought 11, right? We were at 17, our max capacity, right? 9 of that we sold, which means 8 of it we kept, right? What they want us to do here, right? And that kind of lines up right with this bottom number, right? 8,000 units we kept at the end of the month, our ending inventory. So they want us to basically run through each of these: FIFO periodic, LIFO periodic, FIFO perpetual, average cost periodic, average cost perpetual. Some of this is going to be tedious, right? So especially when we get to this perpetual stuff. So let's kind of hang in there and take it step by step, right? So at a starting point, right? This is going to kind of be universal, right? We began on this, right? Our beginning inventory, we can put it in, units. And then we had some purchases, right? So we began with 6,000 units. We had purchase 1 of 5,000 units. We had purchase 2 of 6,000 units, right? What that means is our goods available for sale, right, is going to be the combo of those three. 17,000, that's our max capacity. We then have from this, right, we have to kind of analyze it, right? We have to put it in dollar amount, right? So what is the per unit cost on each of these, right? Well, this guy is $8. This guy is $9. That guy is $10, right? So if we were to just multiply those, create a little footer there. No, we don't want that exactly. We want the formula for this, right? 153,000, that's in dollars, right? Total cost. So here's the deal, right? Let's start with a unit perspective, right? We had 17,000. That was our max capacity, our goods available for sale in units. We know, right, over here that we sold 9,000, right? 9 we sold, which means, hey, 8 we kept our ending inventory, right down there. So that's in units. The question then becomes, when we do this in dollars, right, 153,000, right, goods available for sale in dollars, how much of this did we sell, right? What dollar number are we going to put on that? And how much of that did we keep, right, in a dollar amount? We know the units, but we're going to have to use these different systems to help us kind of convert and figure out how we're going to use a cost flow mechanism to assign those costs. So let's start here with FIFO periodic. Okay, So one of the things, right, how we're going to kind of approach this is, right, our goods available for sale in dollars is 153,000, right? If we can back out, right, our ending inventory, right, in dollars, then we can figure out our cost of goods sold in dollars, right? So if we figure out this, we can do 153 minus that, gets us our cost of goods sold. So let's think about this, right? It's FIFO periodic, which means in this case, right, we're going to work when we go from first in, first out, right, from the top to the bottom, right? Which means that, hey, we have, let's see here, 9,000 we sold. We're going to draw from 5 up top and then 4 down here, right? So in this way, right, what we're going to want to do, sorry about that, what we're going to want to do, and I need to add beginning up here, right, because we started with 6,000 units. So this arrow is really coming from up here, right? So it's like 6 and then 3, right? Which means, okay, we would cross that off, 3 from there. There would be then 2,000 left, right? That would be our ending inventory, 2,000 at 9, 6,000 at 10, right? So if we're looking at our ending inventory, right, it's going to be the 110 purchase, the 118 purchase, right, from number of units, right? So there will be 2,000 at $9, and then 6,000 at $10, right? If we were to just cross multiply that, right, 18, 60, add these guys together, right, we're looking at 78,000. Right, we solve the ending inventory at 78,000, then we can back into our cost of goods sold of 75,000, right? So for FIFO periodic, right, you could do cost of goods sold, right, and then count the ending inventory. It's like multiple ways to get to the same end goal, right? But here with FIFO, right, we had 153 that we had to account for in dollars, right? We're saying that of that amount, 78 in dollars we kept, and 75 we sold in dollars, right? That's how we use FIFO. First in, first out represents our cost of goods sold. The leftover is our ending inventory. All right, let's do, and let me erase this over here because it's going to be sort of a different analysis each time, right? So we're going to start over. Now we're going to do, what's the next one they want us to do? LIFO periodic. Okay, so we're going to kind of copy this framework to the extent we can. Why is this not deleting? Okay. All right, so we know our goods available for sale. If we can figure out our ending inventory, we can back into our cost of goods sold. With LIFO, last in, first out, right, we're going to start from the bottom up, right? So we have 9 that we sold, right? So we're going to kill that pile, right? Draw 6 from there. Hey, there is 3 left over, right? So we'll draw the 3 from there, which means there's $2,000 left in there. That's going to equal our ending inventory, right? So let me kind of map this out. We'll change the numbers down here. right? So we will have in LIFO periodic, right, our beginning inventory of 6,000 units at $8 a unit, and we'll have our purchase on January 10th of, no, how much is there? Yep, 2,000 at $9, right? We're just mapping this from up there, right? So we'll then get $66,000, right? Carry that up. There's the 66 for our ending inventory, right? 153 minus 66, we're at 87,000, right? So what's going on here, right? We had 153 to account for. That's great. On a dollar amount, it looks like 66, right? Dollar amount 66 we kept our ending inventory, and $87 amount, right, we sold. Just showing that in a different form to help you kind of make sense of it. All right, well here is where things will kind of get messy, right? So we've done FIFO periodic, check. We've done LIFO periodic, check. Take a minute, pause, right? Look at that because it's soon to be deleted, right? I need the space over here to have it kind of be clean and neat so we can see the facts and do it. So I'm going to erase this. I'm going to delete all of those, right? We're going to do the next one over here. Right, so sorry, got to get rid of you. You can pause it, rewind, but we got to get rid of you there. Okay, next we're doing FIFO perpetual, right? And the idea with the perpetual is we got to look at this sort of day by day, transaction by transaction. So this is going to be, right, we're going to need the date. We're going to need what we purchased. We're going to need what we sold if we did, and then we're going to need a balance, right? So we're kind of making a schedule here. And the dates, right, we're drawing right from over here, beginning, right? Oh, then January 5th happens, then January 10th. So we're kind of mixing and matching on all of these, right? So we got 1/1, beginning, right? We got 1/5, we got 1/10, we got 1/12, we got 1/18, and then we have 1/20, right? So we're going to analyze these one by one. First thing we're doing here, right, our beginning inventory. This is going to be, right, I'll just write it out, 6,000 units at $8 a unit equals 48,000, right? So we're going to see a lot of that sort of like ugly font here on it, but it's just the way it's going to have to be on there, right? So if we kind of keep track of it, right, 6,000 at $8, right, our balance will be exactly that, right? 6,000 at 8, and that's going to be 48,000, right? So if we'll do it sort of like unitary and then total over there. All right, that's great. That's where we started. January 5th, what's going on here? We look at the facts. Oh, there's January 5th. Chronologically, that's next. We sold, let's see here. 3,000 units. But here's the deal, right? This is FIFO perpetual, right? So this is going to be from the first in, first out. So we're going to be drawing from this pile up here, right? The $8 pile. So it's $3,000 at $8. right? Which is going to equal 24,000. In that way, right, if we started with 6 and we sold 3, right, we're going to have, from a unit perspective, 3,000 left at $8, right? The total amount on that would be 24,000. So we started with 6, that's great. We sold 3, right? The 3 we sold came from there. The leftovers, our ending inventory balance at that point in time is $24,000, right? So let me kind of go over here and just erase that because we're kind of doing the dates here, right? So we started with the beginning. We can cross that off. The beginning, we dealt with January 5th. Now we're moving to January 10th, right? We made a purchase, right? So in this way, on January 10th, we bought 5,000 more units at $9 a pop, right? So that's going to equal 45,000. What's the effect here, right? So now over here, our balance is going to be the 3,000 at $8 plus, right, the 5,000 at $9, right? Right, we're looking at the combo of those two, right? So 24 plus 45, we're looking at $69,000, right? 24 plus 45, 69, our running total. That's great. What's the next date here? January 10th. Oh, January 12th is next. We got to deal with that sale, right? So we're going to factor in some money here, right? So they tell us we sold 2,000 units, but this is FIFO, first in, first out, right? So the pile we're going to draw from here, right, is this guy, right? That's our first in at that point, the $8 one, right? So 2,000 at $8 equals 16,000, right? So what that means is, hey, we were at 3, we just drew from 2, we're going to have 1,000 left at $8. And this thing we didn't tap into at all, the 5,000, right? So we're going to have essentially, those two added together, 1,000 at 8 plus 5,000 at 9, right? We're looking at 53,000, okay? Next up, right? Let's see what's going on here. The next date is January 8th or 18th. We made a purchase, right? So here on January 18th, we bought 6,000 units at $10, right? So that's going to equal 60,000, right? So now, right, when we look at this, right, sort of our running total, down one here, we will have a combination of all of these guys, right? We were at 6,000 units. We bought 6,000 more, so now we're going to be at 12, all of those at those individual prices. When you run the math on that, it's 113,000. Right, on January 20th then, right, what's going on here? Oh, hey, we made our final sale of 4,000 units, right? So we sold 4,000. This is FIFO, right? So of that amount, the 4,000, we're going to draw 1 from here, the oldest, and then 3 from there, right? So it's 4,000, remember that, but how we're going to do this mathematically is 1,000 from the top pile at $8 equals 8,000, right? And then we're going to draw 3,000 from that second pile at $9, right? That's going to equal 27,000, right? So we basically killed that pile, right? That's entirely eaten up. and we ate into this pile by 3,000. So what that means, what we have left over, right, is 2,000 from that middle pile at $9. And then we're going to have that last pile we didn't touch, right? This thing's still good right here. You do the math on that, right? Our ending inventory is going to be $78,000, right? So what's going on here, right? If we kind of use that little equation from before, right? If our goods available for sale, right? The total number on that was what, 153,000, right? Here we're saying, let's see, our ending inventory, right, equals 78. The difference must be 75, right? So this is the same, right? If you were to like rewind the video and look at FIFO perpetual, or I'm sorry, FIFO periodic, what we did for like this guy right here, that's the same numbers in there. The difference is, when do you take those journal entries for cost of goods sold, right? Okay, two more. One of them is like relatively easy. The last one is like a little bit tricky and ugly. So let's kind of, pause, look at that, take a snap, a photo, whatever you need to do. I got to get rid of it to keep the information neat and clean here, right? So I got to clear all of this. I got to clear all of that. I'm going to delete this guy up here. Oh, nope, I don't want to do that. That is not good. Okay, so got it. Average cost periodic system. Okay, let's think about this, right? Our goods available for sale in dollars is 153,000. That was in total, right, for 17,000 units, right? So if we were to do, right, the math on that, the 153 divided by 17, right, we're looking at an average cost of $9 a unit, okay? All right, so here's the deal, right? We know, right, if we were to try to kind of use that formula again, right, we got to do our goods available for sale at 153. If we figure out the ending in dollars, we can back into our cost of goods sold, okay? So in this way, our ending inventory, right, we know that we kept 8,000 units. I don't know why that, I guess that must be formatted by date, right? That's what we kept. The average cost of those units we kept were 9, right? So we can get from that, if we just multiply on that, $72,000, right, as our ending inventory. Right, well, 153 goods available for sale, 72 were our ending, right? Well, the difference must have been our cost of goods sold at 81,000, right? So again, what we did here is we had 153,000 in dollars, our goods available for sale. Of that amount, right, in dollars, 72,000 we kept. And let's see here, 81,000 we sold. Okay, that's the idea there. That's weighted average periodic, right? Now, one of the things we're going to do here finally is weighted average for perpetual. And one of the things here, right, whenever we looked at FIFO, for example, it was the same overall, this kind of thing, whether you did perpetual or periodic. That won't necessarily be the case whenever we do weighted average for perpetual. And the reason for that is the weighted average there is like moving. It's constantly changing. It's not fixed throughout. We're like recalculating the weighted average at any given point in time. So because we're changing the number there, right, it's not $9 all the time. It's going to change the allocation on it. All right, so snapshot that, right? That's great. That's the fourth one there. We have one left to do. So I got to get rid of all this. All right, we have average cost perpetual. So we got to like do the whole mapping here for everything again, right? So we got to have our date, right? We got to have our purchases, what we bought, right? We got to have what we sold, and we got to have our balance, right, with there. And we're going to have, right, like 1, our beginning, right? I'll move down some. We got 1.5. We got 1.10, right? We got 1.12. We got 1.18. And we got 1.20, right? So let's start with this, right? You know, our beginning inventory, right? If we look over here, 6,000 units at $8, right? So 6,000 units at $8, right? So that's going to equal 48,000. So our balance is 48,000, right? Piece of cake. Next up, January 5th. Right, so we did the beginning. That's great. Next up, when we look at these dates, January 5th, we got to tackle that guy. Right, so it looks like we made a sale. Right, so we sold 3,000 units. And the thing is, we got to use our average cost here to figure that out. Well, at this point, everything we paid $8 for, right? So the average cost in that case is going to be $8, right? Which equals $24,000. So the idea is we started at 6, right? That gave us a balance here. Let me do it like I did before. I want to have the units on there just to kind of keep it the same, right? We started at 6, we sold 3. That means we're going to have 3,000 left at $8, right? That's going to give us a balance here of not 48, $24,000. I want to change this to be consistent as well, right? So this should be 6,000 at $8, right? And that's just, you know, individually total level, individually total level. Started with 6, sold 3, have 3 left at 8. Okay. Now, right, let's see, January 10th, right? We bought some more, right? That's great. What did we buy, right? 5,000 units at $9 a unit. right? So $45,000. With that, right, the next thing we got to do is we have a sale, right? On January 12th, we have a sale. But before we get to that sale, we have to figure out what is essentially our weighted average at this point in time, right? Because we make a sale, we got to see what our weighted average is. So if you think about this, right, at this point in time with the $5,000 or the 5,000 units, right, we are going to be into this thing for essentially $69,000, the 24 plus the 45, right? So that's $69,000 where we're at. I don't want to put it in the sold there. Let me make room over here to kind of show this. Right, so 24 plus 45, right? We're into this guy right here, $69,000, and that's for, right, 3,000 units and 5,000, right, 8,000 units, right? So cost over units. All right, so you do the math on that, it's going to be where we're standing at this point in time is $8 on average, right? $8.62 per unit, right? That's our sort of weighted average at this point in time. It's like a temporary weighted average. In this way, right? We know that, that's great, right? So next up is January 12th. Going into that, we sold 2,000 units, right? That's going to be at $8.625. That is to say the weighted average at that point in time. You do the math on that, it's 17,250. Okay. So what we then have left, right? If we were at, let's see here, 3, we bought 5, right? So we were at 8 there, we sold 2, we must have 6,000 left, right? So 6,000 at that average, right? 8.625. You run the math on that, right? It's going to be 51,750. Okay. Next up, right? We got another purchase here, right? We buy, what's the next date? January 18th, right? We buy 6,000 more. Okay, so 6,000 more we buy at $10 a pop, right? That's going to be $60,000. Okay. On January 20th, we know we make a sale, right? But we got to, before we get to that sale, figure out our weighted average at this point in time. It's a moving weighted average. It changes from time to time, right? So in this way, right, where are we at this point in time? Well, our total cost, right, is going to be the 51 we were at plus the 60 we just threw into it for the new units, right? So that's $111,750. How many units is that for, right? Well, that's going to be for 6 we were at plus 6 we just bought, 12,000 units, right? What that then means is our weighted average at this point in time is going to be $9.3125 per unit. Okay, that's great. Kind of telling us there. Finally here, January 20th, right? We sold 4,000 units, right? So we sold 4,000 units at, we're going to use that weighted average we just calculated, 9.3125. we're looking at 37,250 here. It's great, right? So if you think about it, right, we were, let's see here, we were at 6, right? We bought 6, so we were at 12. We sold 4, right? So we were at 12, we sold 4. That must mean that we have 8,000 units left at that weighted average price of $9.3125, right? That's going to get us an ending inventory here of 74,500. Okay. So if we kind of run the numbers on this, right, our goods available for sale is 153,000. If we can figure out our ending inventory, right over here, 74,500. Right, the difference between those two is going to give us our cost of goods sold. Right, so 78.5. In other words, in this situation with the perpetual moving average, weighted average, we had 153 we had to account for in dollars. Right, of that amount in dollars, 74.5 we kept. 78.5 we sold. Right, that's different than what we calculated with periodic weighted average, and the reason for that is this guy wasn't fixed. It changed, right? We had to recalc it. So with that one, I think that's a really good one to study, right? Kind of really builds off of that foundational knowledge. And with that, I'm going to end the video here.